It's now a calm evening as we look over downtown Denver, but that certainly wasn't the case just a couple of hours ago. A quick storm brought heavy rain and hail to parts of the metro area. This is what it looked like in Arvada around 6:30. We saw some pea-sized hail in several places across the area as well. Thanks so much for joining us this Sunday evening. I'm Mark Salinger. That storm wasn't the only major weather event we saw in Colorado today. The National Weather Service confirmed that a landspout tornado touched down in Morgan County this afternoon. It was spotted around 3:48 p.m. between Brush and Akron. It lasted about 5 minutes. Michelle sent us this video of that tornado as it was forming. I want to bring in Corey Reppenhagen now because, Corey, it was a day of wild weather all around the state.
It was, and that tornado is pretty impressive looking, but no damage reports despite it being in a fairly populated area out here in Morgan County near Brush. These are the storm reports that we've received. One tornado. We've had several reports of very strong wind gusts out here on the eastern plains, 1, 2, 3. The biggest hail report was near New Raymer, 1.5 inches. That's a $half size. And we had 4 reports of 1-inch hail with that storm that went through the Denver metro area. Here's live radar showing the storms dissipating from our area. The severe thunderstorm watch has been lifted, all except for these areas where the storms continue to move off into the distance here. And some new storms firing down here to the south. It's probably going to take the bulk of the night to get those storms to move across the area, but looks like we'll be in the clear here in Denver. Here's the way your day looks like tomorrow. On Monday, sunshine early, clouds in the afternoon. Very low chance for storms in our area tomorrow, but the heat will be cranking up there. I'll talk about the heat and the heat wave that's coming in the middle of the week. That's coming up in the full forecast in just a few minutes.
Corey, thank you. So this is the part of the holiday weekend newscast in Colorado that we talk about I-70 traffic. Brutal so far this weekend with crashes shutting down the road for multiple hours, multiple times this weekend. Right now, though, not so bad. This is a live look as people who waited to come home are treated to some empty roads. So today actually wasn't that bad. At least not as bad as other days, and that's despite some road closures earlier this morning. The Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office says the westbound lanes of I-70 near Empire were closed for some time after a crash earlier today. And Colorado State Patrol said northbound I-25 in Larkspur was also closed after a semi-truck was involved in a crash with 4 other cars. Both highways have since reopened after those crashes. Traffic, of course, is one of the inevitables of the 4th of July weekend here around our state. Now News reporter Janelle Finch has more on the backups that piled up this weekend.
The saying goes, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But when the journey looks like this, it can be hard to think about anything else.
I hope it's all worth it.
Drivers knew to prepare for increased holiday traffic on I-70.
Our rule of thumb is usually to try and get out ahead of it. When you get 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it just kind of backs all the way up to the tunnel usually.
But others behind the wheel couldn't have anticipated what would slow them down, like Rachel Greenlee.
So I live in Arvada, but I have a really close friend that lives in Rangeley, which is almost to the Utah border. So I have to travel through I-70 to get to her house.
She says she left the Denver metro area on Thursday in the hopes of avoiding traffic. But a vehicle fire near the Eisenhower Tunnel literally stopped her in her tracks.
We sat on the highway until they arrived to put the fire out, but we were sitting for probably an hour and a half, just stopped on I-70 westbound with that accident. That was pretty terrible.
According to Colorado State Patrol, a truck ran into the back of a semi. CSP says the truck driver and a dog died in the fire.
It's really a helpless feeling of, I don't know what to do. Obviously, I can't approach a massive fire, so that's a little scary. And I've never experienced standing on a highway before, ever.
Greenlee was able to make it to Utah for the holiday, but on her way back to Colorado Saturday, her bad travel luck had caught her again.
So we're going eastbound on I-70, and yet again, the traffic seems to be slowing down and then stops for another fire.
She says after an additional hour in traffic, she finally made it home to Arvada.
I think I'm done being in my car for a couple days, so.
While being stuck in traffic means being further from the destination,
It was crazy. I'm on 70 and it's just backed up, but it sure is pretty.
some drivers do find beauty in the journey.
Janelle Finch reporting. Moving along with our holiday evening forecast and newscast, we want to now touch on a story about fireworks starting a house fire. course, it's the 4th of July. South Metro Fire says 2 homes were badly damaged thanks to fireworks that weren't properly disposed of. Moving over to City Park after that, there was a big party somewhere around there, because when we showed up the day after to see what was left of those fireworks, this is what we found. A whole lot of wrappers and debris all around the neighborhood. Now, around Sloan's Lake, a local realtor there says the property her client is under contract to buy was damaged by fireworks. Not exactly what you want to see when you're about to close on a house.
When I spoke with the listing agent, he said, well, there was a firework that landed on the rooftop deck. My buyer was a little bit shocked, and it's like, oh my gosh, what do you do?
West Metro Fire also saw a surge in emergency calls. Typically, they get around 110 over a 24-hour time span. This weekend, they got in just 12 hours, they received over 90 of them. Moving on to some other headlines now. A person was killed early this morning after getting hit by several cars on Highway 50 in Delta County. It happened near the town of Delta on the western slope. CSP says 2 drivers who were involved have come forward and are currently working with investigators. The agency believes at least 1 other driver may also be involved. Westbound Highway 50 was closed for several hours for the investigation. That road has since reopened. Back here in Denver, Denver police say a person is in the hospital this evening after being stabbed in Lodo. Police first posted about it on social media a little after 5 p.m. Happened in the 1400 block of Market Street. DPD says 1 victim was taken to the hospital, though tonight we don't know how they're doing. Police also have not yet provided any updates about a possible suspect in that crime. In Boulder County, the Boulder County Sheriff's Office says a person was found dead in the Barker Reservoir outside of Nederland today. First responders were notified just after noon by a person fishing in the reservoir that they thought they saw a body. Officials from the Nederland Fire Protection District responded and confirmed that there was someone who had died in the water. Officials recovered the body. The Boulder County Coroner's Office will determine his identity and cause of death. Law enforcement is asking for help finding someone who's escaped from police multiple times in the past 25 years. The FBI says Francisco Molina Nieve first fled a Colorado courtroom back in 1999, right after a jury found him guilty in the brutal beating of his girlfriend. He's been dodging prison ever since, using fake identities and escaping multiple arrests after posting bond. He's now wanted on a federal warrant for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. The FBI says Molina Nieve has ties to Colorado, Texas, and Mexico. Officials believe he may still be hiding in one of those places. He first posted a $1 million bond back in 2007, then fled from police for a 3rd time. Now the FBI is stepping in again, posting him on a most wanted list. There's some encouraging news this evening here in Denver about drug overdoses. New data from the medical examiner's office is showing a significant drop in deaths after a deadly high back in 2023. 9 News reporter Rachel Krause spoke with the assistant medical examiner, and Rachel, she warns that decline may not last.
Yeah, overdose deaths dropped in 2024, but still claimed close to 500 lives. That's still a significant dip. But after a deadly spring, the Denver Medical Examiner's Office is warning that this problem isn't going away.
It's so frustrating and it's sad, and we, talk to families all day, every day who are losing someone from an overdose.
Dr. Sterling McLaren looks death in the eye every day.
Yes.
As Denver's assistant medical examiner, McLaren sees the impact of drug use and overdose firsthand.
Every number is a person.
Data shows the number of people who died from an overdose last year dropped from a record high of 598 in 2023 to 483 in 2024. It's a 20% dip.
It felt optimistic. If we see the numbers going down, we think that's a good thing.
It's not the only change their office clocked.
For the first time, 2024, we saw methamphetamine take the lead over fentanyl by about a couple of cases. So methamphetamine is not going anywhere, and it's in fact kind of on the rise and causing just as many, if not more, deaths than fentanyl.
Often meth and fentanyl are being used together. As meth use climbs, McLaren says fentanyl is still in the community. How it's showing up is shifting.
Fentanyl used to be really commonly found as a blue pill. Recently, we've been seeing it in the white powder form. And so that's something that I think is concerning, because a person may use a white powder, which is typically cocaine or heroin, or think that it's not fentanyl when it is fentanyl or has fentanyl in it.
Well, last year's drop in deadly overdose deaths is a relief. McLaren warns it may not last.
Unfortunately, we are seeing an increase in our overdose-related deaths. March of 2025 was the worst month we've seen in recent history.
While deaths in June have dropped, she's still concerned by that spike. McLaren says addressing addiction, substance use, and overdose deaths is a complex problem, one they try and tackle every day.
We're hoping that what we do here contributes to the greater understanding and prevention efforts eventually.
Lisa Rayville with the Harm Reduction Action Center says she's pleased that 2024 brought a drop in deaths, but says there are still far too many. And a substantial rise in deaths this March and April has them worried. She says people they know, love, and serve are dying preventable overdoses, so they're trying to continue to support people who use drugs with health information and access to naloxone. Rachel Krause, 9 News.